First of all, Paul is stating who he is. Paul, an apostle. What I love about Paul, he's not shy about who God says he is. That Paul the apostle only calls himself an apostle because that's what God says he is. He's not using this as a hierarchical term. He's not using this as a domination term. He's not using this to minimize the Galatian church. He's just saying, this is the grace that is given to me. I am called as an apostle. And I think that's a really important revelation, is that, in the church, we've got really comfortable with calling people pastor and, they're a teacher and they're an evangelist. But if somebody goes, I'm Apostle Ed or I'm Prophet Ed, we all go a little bit weird and like, we feel really, really uncomfortable because we've minimized particularly the apostolic and prophetic gift. And because it's being used in a dominating sort of way, to try to create hierarchy, when we think of, in Ephesians 4, first he gave apostles, second he gave prophets. That is not hierarchy. That is order of sequence. So when you read that scripture, don't read it as a hierarchy. Read it as an order of sequence. That when God is wanting to break into a new area, he will send apostles first. And the apostles through relationship will bring in prophets and raise up prophets. And the apostles and prophets together will help raise up evangelists. And as that, so there's this succession of building. So it's not like prophets are not at the apex. Actually, apostles are not the apex, they're the foundation. They're the first thing that goes in, not the last thing. And I think we've got the church paradigm all the wrong way around when it comes to leadership. We think, the person who makes the decision is the top of the tree. And that's how we built it, because we built church around a business model, a CEO model. When actually, if you see apostles and prophets overly active and you see them very clearly in an organization, they're not doing their job right. You should see them less and less and less, and you should see other people more and more and more. And they still have a role to father and bring teaching and direction, but it shouldn't be always dominated by their ministry. With what we're doing with online church here, I'm really passionate that we raise up other people and raise up, people who can teach and raise up people who can pastor people in these groups that we're going to start developing. The less you see obvious leadership and singular leadership, the better. And so Paul is an apostle, but he's not using this as a term of domination. He's using this as just a term of God sent him first to the Galatian church, and it's out of this relationship he's writing. I was not appointed by any group of people or human authority. This is a really important thing when thinking about fivefold ministry. Fivefold ministry is not birthed through people's thinking, through people's ideas, through people's... when we see in Acts 13, Paul and Barnabas being anointed and sent out as apostles, it's because they were doing that work for years before. And when in Acts 13 they get commissioned, the commission is just the confirmation of what they've already been doing for a long time. And so the commissioning and that was just going, we see what God's doing with we bless it, but actually those people had no control of it. It was an endorsement, but it wasn't a commissioning in that sense of they were saying, okay, we're sending you out. No, we're just agreeing with you. That Paul was made an apostle by a revelation of Jesus Christ. And if that's and because it was a true revelation, other people came into agreement with that because they saw the fruit of it. So often people will put the title first and expect people to be received by a title instead of being received by fruit. You can say you're an apostle, you can say you're a prophet, you can say you're a pastor, you can say you're a teacher, you can say you're a worship leader, but I'm looking at the fruit in your life. What do I see? That is, we need to be guided by fruit instead of being guided by titles and position.